Hey, soldiers, Western society is crumbling all around us. Now, I'm not saying that
we are all gonna die!
But what I am saying is we need to take a look at some of the factors that are part and parcel of Western society's devolution. Now, look, this happens, okay? It just so happens that we are alive to see it. So in that respect, we're actually lucky to be witnessing a historical event. And we need to understand how to navigate this financially so that we come out on top. There are people in the Soviet Union that came out on top. There are people in ancient Rome that, as it fell, came out on top. Okay, so don't look at this as doom and gloom, but just look at it as societal evolution. And the other thing I want to point out is these things take time. So depending on where you are in the country and in the West, you may see different aspects of this play out at different times. For example, in Europe right now, we're seeing a hell of an energy crunch. We're seeing the folks over in Europe, our subscribers over in Europe, they're having to be exposed to higher electricity bills, higher heating bills because of policies that have been made by leftist politicians that are basically destroying economies over there and making people hungry and cold. So let's start this off with an examination of, let's go back into the crime kind of that whole subject for a minute. I know we did a larger video on it, but let's take a look at what's going on in the world with respect to, in the United States especially, with respect to crime.
I bet you think you're pretty smart, huh? Think you could outsmart a bullet?
Now, you know that we've got a lot of liberal prosecutors out there who have taken the reins. Not just Democrat, because there's a Democrat politician, state's attorney, in this particular county that I live in. And he's highly effective at discouraging criminal behavior. He almost got beat by a leftist, Soros-backed politician in this last primary election. I mean, this guy, he won by the skin of his teeth. And it was so close. And that thing was so indeterminate for so many days, I started looking at selling this property and getting the hell out of here. Because that state's attorney's piece is part and parcel to the maintenance of your property value. Once criminal activity comes in, and we talked about it before, once that starts to take hold, every statistic shows it is detrimental to your property value. It's detrimental to the quality of schools, the government school system, which isn't that great to begin with. And it's also deleterious to business investment in the area. So you realize over time a general decrease in value, especially in the value of an asset that you may have located in that area, like a business or a piece of property, real property, or both. Now, previously on the channel, we talked about the Safety Act up in Illinois. You can look at that video. We put it up a couple of days ago. Here is one of the politicians up there in Illinois talking about what's going on. This is Keith Pekow. He's the mayor of Orland Park, Illinois.
As of January 1st, 2023, the following things will go into effect, and people need to be aware of this. It abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but isn't limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. And keep this in mind, businesses and homeowners. Officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from your residence or your businesses.
Okay, so it's open season on the law-abiding citizen up there in Illinois. Now, Illinois, Chicago especially, is one of the most draconian municipalities in terms of your Second Amendment rights. So you can't protect yourself, and the police aren't going to help you. So you are what's known as a sitting duck. Now, you tell me, do you feel comfortable locating assets in such an environment? All right, so that is one clear indication of a society in decline. And the reason why we need to take a look at crime as a specific indicator is because the government's first obligation is to protect the citizenry. Why else would you have a government? Okay, why else would you pay this protection money we call taxes if the government was not going to be able to put an apparatus together that would protect you from the barbarian hordes that are external to the country and also the criminal element that is internal to the country? Now, what you can do is you can stop paying taxes in these municipalities. However, hold on, I'm not suggesting you break the law. I am suggesting you find a municipality that will treat you better. Go where your money is treated best. I know plenty of card-carrying liberals. You know the type to get the sign in the front yard. We believe in science and diversity and all this bull crap that they don't live by. I know these types of people that have gotten their asses up and moved to places like Florida with the evil Ron DeSantis because of taxation, because of property values. You can get more for your money. And also because they can walk down the street at night in their gated communities and not have to be accosted, not have to worry about being accosted by, little Darius. So that's one indication of what we've got going on with the societal decline is crime. Now, here's another. The insolvency, the economic insolvency of the country in general and these entitlement programs in specific, most notably Social Security. The Social Security Administration is not shy about informing you that the system is currently bordering on, well, look, let's just be honest, it is insolvent. When they say it's bordering on insolvent, they're talking about like we're not in a recession or inflation is transitory. In other words, a lie. By 2034, the Social Security Administration will be in such a state that it will only be able to pay out 78% of expected benefits. So I hope that you are not relying on Social Security to take you through some blissful retirement. Because by 2034, again, it's going to run out of excess reserves. Now, that's not the only program that's going to face difficulty as the nature of the West and the United States in particular changes. When, not if, we've talked about this a lot on the channel, when the US dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency, and that is going to happen by 2035, mid-2030s, the amount of reserves held globally, right now, 60% of those reserves are held in US dollars. By 2035, mid-2030s, that percentage will be below 50%. I guarantee that, okay? And if it doesn't happen, I will come back on this YouTube channel and eat my hat, all right? Now, also predict that the amount of FX or foreign exchange transactions right now prosecuted in dollars sitting at 88%, that's going to come down to below the 70% range by, again, mid to late 2030s. So we're going to see the dollar lose its preeminence. And as that happens, we're going to see what they saw in the ancient Roman Empire as it started to fall. We're going to see an increase in taxation. And one thing about the fall of the Roman Empire, they kept increasing taxation in order to support military engagements. They were a far-flung empire at that time. And empire they were. And that's what we are. Anytime we have been out of this war with Germany and Japan for the better part of a century now, yet we still occupy those territories. We're all over the world. And anytime you see a country do something like that, we are certainly an empire. If you can go to Ramstein, Germany, and find a Burger King on a military base, okay, not so much now as back in maybe the 80s when that was a little bit rarer. But America has exported its culture and its military around the world. We are not going to be able to continue to afford that as alternatives to the dollar start to rise to stature throughout the world. I know a lot of people right now are scoffing at what the Chinese and the Russians are trying to do and the BRICS nations are trying to do, which is to put up an alternative to the dollar. But look, that may have legs, especially if the United States of America continues to act with impunity with regard to using the dollar as a cudgel, as a weapon, as a means to impose its foreign policy goals on other nations. So we may see we may see an acceleration in other countries saying, you know what, we want some diversification. Just last night on 60 Minutes, no, I do not watch that crap, but I did see a snippet where Joe Biden said, hey, yeah, we will definitely defend Taiwan and we'll send our men and women over there to do it. All right, I want to go over one last thing before we end today's report. And this is from my trusty, dusty Wall Street Journal print copy. When you get the print copy, they call it yesterday's news in the bushes. But this is relevant. Electric bills rise nationwide as natural gas prices climb. Now, if you thought that Europe was going to be the only area of the globe that had to suffer through these energy prices, then you're wrong.
Watch out now.
America is going to feel some of that same brunt because, again, we have politicians who are off on some fairy tale journey in their minds with regard to a 4-billion-year-old planet. Okay, let's talk about climate change and the fallacy of it for a second. This is a 4-billion-year-old planet. Homo sapiens sapien, the iteration of human being that we are, been around, date back to, if you go back to the furthest extent, you might say about 300,000 years, okay? I'm not even going to try to do the percentage of 300,000 to 4 billion. This planet, have all indications add up to this planet being hit by all kinds of meteors. We may have been hit by another planet forming the moon. We've had nuclear explosions on the planet. We've had climatic changes that wiped out whole species. The planet persists. So to believe that we, this little flavor of the epoch species we call humanity, is capable of destroying a planet is insane. Furthermore, if you want some science, remember the people I was talking to you about that have the lawn sign? We believe in science. First of all, science is not something you believe in. Science is not a deity. But if you want some science, then check out NASA saying that temperatures on Mars have risen. Now, I don't know if there's anybody up there driving around in the Suburban or, any coal-fired electricity plants on Mars. But it would seem to me that if you've got warming going on in planets, Jupiter has experienced some as well, then it may have something to do with solar activity, which is a commonality. In any event, U.S. utility customers faced with some of their largest bills in years are set to pay even more this winter as natural gas prices continue to climb. From New Hampshire to Louisiana, customers' electricity rates are increasing. The energy information industry anticipated the residential price of electricity will average 14.8 cents per kilowatt hour in 2022, up 7.5% from 2021. So we are going to be faced here. I hope you were able to lock in a price for gas and electricity so you can stabilize that. That's one way to deal with that situation. Now, navigating this thing. First of all, do not trust in any government program. Joe Biden also came out and recently said that the pandemic is over, which means that all that stimulus, done. No more relief associated with that in any way, shape, or form. That's what he was saying. So don't rely on any government program, okay? If the government has an advantage or has some sort of provision that you can take advantage of legally in terms of taxation, you better do it, because taxation is going to increase as the situation continues to degrade. Now, I know you know what's coming. You got your Roth IRA, and you've also got your permanent life insurance policy. Those are two ways to protect you from future taxation. If you want to break on current taxation, just keep in mind you can use a qualified account like a 401k or an traditional IRA. However, that money's not liquid. Now, what I would strongly suggest you take a look at, you don't have to take my advice because I'm not giving you any advice. I'm just throwing out ideas. You can do your due diligence and figure out what's best for you. But hard assets are going to become more and more important, especially as the government becomes more voracious in terms of taxation. And as they establish a central bank digital currency, which they will do, I'm not going to be trusting digital money that is held in some government account. No way, no how. So hard assets is what I'm looking at pivoting hard toward. Like land, we did the video about the royal family and how much of their wealth is held in land, okay? Not selling assets is also a good way to drastically reduce your tax burden, okay? In some cases, even eliminate it for now. Who knows what they will decide in the future, but that's the case now. And we can rest assured that they probably won't do anything that's going to hurt the political class. So if you are within that political class type of income level, I would say anywhere from 100,000 below and on up to maybe $2 million of income per year, they're not going to do anything to hurt you because they're never going to vote on something that's detrimental to their own interest. Okay, soldiers, ever heard the old adage, you are what you eat? Well, banks believe that too. That's why they serve suckers at the counter. And those are not just any suckers, they're dum-dums. Watch this video because you need to understand how the banks are basically making you poorer. Banking is becoming obsolete. Watch the video, find out how to protect yourself and what does work to help preserve and grow your money. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.